Hello, you guys. Author James L. Nunn here, back with another book review. Okay, guys, so this is the second episode of the book reviews. The first one should be on the channel by now and was a review of Night of the Living Dummy, Goosebumps. And the next one is while I'm in the process of still reading through my Goosebumps books, and also I have a couple other books that I've started kind of that I'm reading through. I'm one of those people that I have a bad habit of starting multiple books and just picking and choosing which one I'm going to read that night and reading through them all together. But in the meantime, I paid a visit to my local library this week, and that's something that I think more people should really do, that I think a lot of people take for granted. But as an author and a reader, I love having a local library. I loved the library at school. I spent a lot of time in my school libraries growing up, and being able to drive to one now and check out books and audiobooks and graphic novels even ours has, and movies and stuff, I think it's awesome. I remember when I was a kid, our public library growing up was another big thing for us, right? They would do so many events, and even ours now, where I'm at now, also does a lot of really cool events. But as a kid, I remember my first mom, before she passed, we lived just a little ways from our public library, not real far. There's like a couple streets over, I think. And I have fond memories, and remember we had this little red wagon. It said Radio Flyer on the side, if any of you remember how old school that is, a little red wagon. And me and my younger brother, who's 3 years younger than me, she'd load us up in the wagon, and then would pull us, and she'd pull us along the street and across this little bridge, and then take us to the library there, and we'd store the wagon wherever. I don't really know where she stored it. By the time we got to the library, we got out and was making gangway for the doors. You know, it's one thing as kids you didn't think about what mom was doing with the wagon or where it was stored, or what she had to do once we got there. We just ran in, and they had little readings for us kids. They would read books out loud to us, and we was always excited to look at the VHS tapes, because this was before we had DVDs. And I remember our favorite to check out over and over again in the VHS tapes was this Muppets like sing-along video. It's so random, I know, but you had like Kermit singing Kokomo by the Beach Boys. You had this weird cockroach Muppet singing I Eat Wood, which is like a parody of a James Brown song. So shout out if anybody actually knows what I'm talking about or remembers that. But we're here to talk about books. So I say that to say I made a visit to my public library. So there was a couple books, and well, I mainly went there for an audiobook because I wanted to get it. Don't really have the money to get the physical book right now, but I'd seen that they had a copy of the audiobook in, and so I went to pick that up, and I've not finished the audiobook yet. That's not what the review is today. But the audiobook that I got is Bullet Train by Kotaro Isaka, which is the new movie that's out with Brad Pitt. We recently went and watched that in theaters, the wife and I did, and I loved it. I was really excited for it already. And then when I was trying to look up like other stuff about the movie, basically afterwards, I found out that it was based on a book, which I didn't even know. And so I went there with the goal of getting that, but while I was there, I thought, I'll look and see what else they got. It's a library. And so the fun fact is I ended up finding a graphic novel that I didn't even know was a graphic novel series. And as many of you may know, I'm currently working, my current book project that I'm writing is The Blood and the Blues, which is a detective crime thriller. So while I was there, I found a graphic novel of a manga of Sherlock, the Great Game. Check that out. Back here, got Watson there, big fur coat, some paintings. And as you know, manga, you always start from the back, and you always want to read left to right. But basically, let's find a random page here. And there's a cool picture of the puzzle. It's from the show. It's basically based upon the Sherlock show with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. And if you know me or don't know me, one thing you can learn is I'm a big fan of Sherlock Holmes. I have a Sherlock Holmes mug. I have the first 4 or 5 seasons, I think 4 seasons, first 4 seasons on Blu-ray. I have artwork from the show. I have a Sherlock Holmes collected, like the actual Sir Arthur Conan Doyle books on collection. Um, yeah, sometime I'll go through all my Sherlock stuff. Maybe if that's something you guys are interested in, I'll show off my actual Sherlock collection. But I do love the show a lot. I like all the movies and shows that I've seen, but I am a big fan of the series. I remember watching it and just being enthralled. Um, and it's just one of those really personal things. I have a lot of like personal attachments to that series and the show, and Sherlock and Watson in general. Uh, and so when I seen this, I had to get it, because I'm like, well, it's good motivation for my detective book, and it's manga. And I grew up on like Shonen Jump. I'm from like the Shonen Jump era when you had like Yu-Gi-Oh and Dragon Ball, and man, what was some of the others? I think Inuyasha started out as a Shonen Jump thing. Manga, Death Note. I remember Death Note was big in Shonen Jump manga. Yeah, so I grew up on all of that and loved all of that. And I love graphic novels and comics. As you can see behind me, I got tons of like comic book figures and stuff. And so I seen this and I had to get it. And so then I had to read it. And I literally read it all in one night. um, whereas in most books, I think the Goosebumps book I read took me about a week. I think I finished it within about a week. I've got a Sherlock book. I have a Sherlock book that I'm currently reading, Sherlock versus Cthulhu, which has taken me a little while, but I mean it's a lot thicker novel. Obviously, it's a big book, but this one took me one night. I literally came home from the library that day and just did not stop reading through it. Which, I mean, again, with a graphic novel, it's a little bit easier because it's mainly picture and dialogue. But I really love the art style in this, the way they kind of adapted from the live action show into art and into a anime kind of style of the characters, which kind of makes me want to watch an anime of Sherlock now. I mean, we're still waiting on a season 5 of the actual show, so maybe we can get like a spin-off anime series, kind of the way Supernatural did, and get the actual actors to come back and do the voice acting. I don't know. I wonder if that would be easier. I know, like, I think Sherlock season 5 has been kind of pushed back because of scheduling and stuff, because obviously Benedict is Doctor Strange now, and even Martin Freeman plays a SHIELD agent within the Marvel Universe. So, like, maybe their schedules are too busy, but I wonder if they did an animated version of it, kind of like in the same style as this manga, and they just had to voice over it, if it would be easier. It's food for thought. Anybody that's an animator or voice actor out there, let me know. But about the book, so I had a lot of fun with this book, or this novel, manga, graphic novel, however you want to say it. I'm just going to say book for now. It's a book review. At the end of the day, it's still a form of a book. It's based on an actual, I don't know if it's a whole episode or a series of episodes. I think it's just based on one episode, because the episodes in the series are like an hour and a half long. They're like a mini movie, and I think that's what this is based on. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one of my favorites. Has a lot to do with introducing, not necessarily, well, introducing, I guess, for the first time in person, Jim Moriarty, or James Moriarty. If you know Sherlock Holmes in any avenue or any style of Sherlock Holmes, he's his big rival. He's the Joker to Batman. He's the Superman to Lex Luthor. He's the Captain America to Red Skull. Moriarty is his arch nemesis. He is his, which they literally, I think they use that a couple times in the story. But you get a lot of really good content here. You get to delve a lot into kind of the heart and character of Sherlock and Watson both. He deals a lot with kind of chipping away at Sherlock on, like, how insensitive can you be, because Sherlock's so focus. He kind of gets the thrill of all these little puzzles and games that Moriarty's playing with him, but he's doing it by putting other people's lives at risk. And but you kind of get to see a little bit of Sherlock's humanity, I feel like, within the Great Game. Um, because, and I won't go into super detail for spoiler reasons, but you get to really see a little bit more of that humanity, because certain things that happen, you get to see that he's not quite as cold and callous as he seems. But it also really puts him to the test. You really get to see a lot of really good mysteries and puzzles. There's a lot of puzzle solving in this one. And I think it's really good. You get a lot of the great chemistry between Sherlock and Watson, which is a very important thing and one of my favorite things about it. And you get to see the brilliance and madness, not just from Sherlock, but from Moriarty himself. And again, it's a beautiful introduction to one of the greatest rivalries in fiction history, and one of the greatest cat and mouse type games ever. I mean, this one's called The Great Game. It's Sherlock the Great Game, because all the cases are named. And so yeah, so I love it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Again, when I review things, I usually do it based within context of its subgenre. So like when I'm rating movies, if I'm rating a comedy movie, I'm going to rate it based with other comedy movies. So like, I'm not going to sit and say, oh, a 4-star comedy movie is the same as a 3-star action movie, because they're two different genres, right? But comparing a 4-star action movie with a 3-star action movie, then it makes a little more sense. And so when giving this a rating on Goodreads, I didn't review it. I don't think, maybe I did review it, but I know I rated it. But the thing about with this is, it is a graphic novel, it is a manga, it is an anime that is directly pretty much pulled from a TV show. So I had to kind of rate it based on all of those things. But again, to me, the Sherlock series, and then turning it into a manga anime style, and then pulling from one of my favorite arcs in the series, was just the perfect storm to come together for me. Again, that I finished it literally in one night. As soon as I got home, like, I just sat and just didn't hardly look up from it until it was finished, because it is just so good. And that, to me, deserves a 5 out of 5 stars. So that is my review for Sherlock the Great Game. Thank you guys for stopping by. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, spread the word, and be on the lookout for more reviews coming soon.